Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Pamela, and you are watching Pam Entertainment TV, where we review movies, television series, and do celebrity legal news. Also, join me for my pop culture chats. If you'd like to support the channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. My Venmo and Cash App is below. Thank you so much, and let's get started. Hello, hello, hello. Make sure that you all can hear me because I'm having. Y'all, I apologize for being just a tad late because there's information that's coming up and coming out, and I just needed to make sure that I had the updated stuff. So, what I'm going to go over is some of the sentencing information that we received. I'm going to go over a CNN article, and then I'm going to pull up other information that I got. So, make sure you all hit that like button. Make sure you hit that like button as you come in. So there's a couple of things that I thought was interesting to look at. All right, here we go. So I'm going to add this to stage. Now, this is the actual verdict slip. We all know what the verdict was, but it is nice to see actual copies of what the jury had put their hands on, so to speak. So as we see it, it says, how do you find the defendant? And we all know the verdict, but I'm just going back over to see it. So we see that it's checked, not guilty. So they no longer look through that particular charge. And then as we went down, they asked him about count 2, not guilty, little check marks. And these are the actual check marks of the jury foreman. Count 3, they found him guilty. Count 4, not guilty. Count 5, here it is. They redacted the 4 person's name and they had the date. All right. So let's go over the letter. There were several different letters that went out. So let's go over this particular letter. Let's share this tab. So it looks like the judge signed this particular letter. And what it says here, this was written by Diddy's counsel. And it says, Dear Judge, the parties have met and conferred and have agreed to the following schedules for sentencing, post-verdict motions, and submission of offense conduct to probation office. For sentencing, the parties proposed the court original date of October 3rd, 2025. The defense proposes that the probation office provide the parties with a pre-sentence investigation report on or before August 29th, 2025. That the defense objection to the PSR be filed on or before September 5th, and that the government objections to the PSR be filed on or before September 12th. That the probation office disclose their final PSR on September 18th, 2025. That the defense sentencing memorandum be filed on or before September 19th, and that the government sentencing memorandum be filed on September 26th. The government and the probation office do not object to this schedule. For post-verdict motions, the parties propose that the defense files any post-verdict motions on or before July 30th, and that the government respond on or before August 20th. Finally, the government requests that it be permitted to submit its summary of offense conduct on or before July 11th, and that the defense does not object. We appreciate the court's consideration, and the court adopts the below sentencing schedule, so ordered, and it's signed by Aaron Subramian, dated July 8th, 2025. So this is what we have. So there's not going to be expedited sentencing because of the fact that they have to give the probation people time to get all these reports in and people to object and everything like that. So this is the schedule that they have come up with, and we will read the schedule one more time. We'll go over. Excuse me. Let's do this. Let's do this CNN report, and it's basically saying the same thing. So I'm just going to go over the CNN report written by Lauren Del Valle and Kara Scannell. All right. Sean Diddy Combs to be sentenced on October 3rd. So we go here. After the verdict was announced last Wednesday, Judge Subramanian had proposed scheduling the sentencing hearing for October 3rd, but was told by Combs' lawyer that they hoped to expedite the process. Ahead of a remote hearing on Tuesday, attorneys for Combs first proposed a date of September 22nd for the sentencing hearing, but they later revised their proposal to October 3rd in a subsequent letter to the judge shortly after. And I think I have a copy of that letter. Hold on. I think I do have a copy of that letter. Yes. Here it is right here. This is what they were going to, this is what the defense proposed earlier. And it says the parties, we're going to skip all the pleasantries. It says the parties have met and conferred and have agreed to the following schedules for sentencing, post-verdict motions, and submission of the offense conduct to the probation officer. So what's the difference? They were saying that the probation office was to provide pre-sentencing investigation reports by September 5th. And the defense sentencing memorandum was going to be filed on or before September 8th, and that the government sentencing memorandum was going to be filed on or before the 15th, with sentencing taking place on the 22nd. And in this letter, it said the government does not object to this letter. And post-verdict motions, they wanted them filed on or before July 30th with any response or objections on August 20th. But that whole this whole scene, this whole letter right here was rejected for some reason, and it probably had to do with the probation period. But this letter right here is the official one, and we're still going back to the sentencing date, the original sentencing date of October 3rd. So by that time, because I think he was arrested in September 16th or something like that. So by the time that October comes, he would have had 12 months and a couple of weeks by the time this hearing is that he has been in custody. Okay. Let's continue this article. Ahead of a remote hearing on Tuesday, attorneys for Combs proposed a date of September 22nd for the hearing, but they later revised their proposal to October 3rd. The first letter said the defense proposal was subject to the consent from the probation officer. The second letter, which essentially backed off their push to expedite his sentencing, shifted the sentencing hearing back to its original date and said the probation office did not object to that schedule. So that is when he's going to be sentenced. It was a whole ado for nothing, in my opinion, because they could have kept the schedule. They didn't have to try to do all of this rigmarole to get it moved, but it's going to be on October 3rd. The only thing what's going to be interesting is what the prosecution and what the defense file as to the time of how much time they want Diddy to be in the hoos cow, so to speak. So people are going, the defense, hold on. Let's go back. I think the defense wanted anywhere from 20 to 35 months, and the prosecution is looking for 50 months. So basically, the defense wants, because this is going to be his first charge, uh, they want it to be lenient, and they want it to be anywhere from hello, hello. The verdict was a win for the defense, but will they appeal and try to approve it? I don't think so. I don't think so. This is, if you're looking at the strategy, sometimes the strategy is not always not guilty versus, hey, let's get guilty on the least amount of time that we can get. So poke as many holes as poke as many reasonable doubt holes in the prosecution's uh, uh, case to get this scenario. And this was a scenario that they were going to get. They were not going to and again, this is just my opinion. They were never going to get past the Mann Act, because the Mann Act is very clear. You can't transport anybody across state lines for the purpose of the prostitute, or for that. The prosecution's case was clear that a lot of these escorts were transported across state line and across the country and out of the country for the purposes of the freak offs. And the freak offs had intimate relations that required touching, physical touching. So, and they paid them. And they all got on there and talked about that they were getting paid. I don't know what they appeal in this. I'm not a legal expert, so I don't know, Flavio, what they would appeal. But this is the best scenario that they can get as far as what the charges were. Because if you remember, had he been convicted for the RICO, he would have lost all of his assets. He would have lost all of his money, houses, and everything, and his children would not have had a legacy. Had he been convicted of the trafficking, not only would have lost all of his assets, but he also would have had to register as a sex offender. So I don't. This was the best scenario. I don't know if I would poke the bear, because right now you don't know how many years you're going to get. Hey, Donna, he doesn't know how many years he's going to get. So I definitely wouldn't poke that bear at this point. I wouldn't poke that bear at this point. So that's just the way I feel about it right now. I don't think he would continue to poke that bear, but they may. There's a lot of things on the table from what I understand. He may, the president of the United States may pardon him. He may get a pardon. He may get a lenient sentence that the defense wants. So I think he is prepared, that he knows that he's going to spend some time in jail. It's some time in prison, but it's just how much time in prison is he going to spend? That, I think, that's the better question that we're going to look. So we will see. Now, I know the pundits have, the Diddy supporters are saying that, oh, he's not going to get but a couple of years. He's already served a year. He may have to serve about 6 or 7 months, and then he'll get out. Then you have the prosecution team wanting Diddy to get at least 4 or 5 years with time served. So he would have to serve another 2 to 3 years. I think, and this is just a me, I think the judge may give him a little bit more time than that. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm thinking 7 years, with him having to serve at least 4 or 5. I just think they're going to do. That's just the way I feel. Now, I told y'all before, my feeling about him just being convicted on the transportation charge has come to pass. I just think that they're going to give him a little bit more than what everybody is predicting to give him. And that is at the judge's discretion, because the judge's discretion, he could give him literally the max, which is 10 years per charge, which would be 20 years. And if he gives him 20 years, he's got to serve at least 85% of that. So with time served, you talk about 10 to 15 years. But it's my understanding that they have people who have been convicted under the Mann Act do not spend that much time in jail. Not like that. No one has spent more than 5 years. I think up to 5 years, 2 to 3, anywhere from 24 months to 36 months in jail. So we will see. We will see how this works out. But it's interesting now that the P. Diddy trial, because have y'all heard? This came across my Twitter line, and this is not Diddy related, but it is Diddy related. You remember a couple of years ago when it may have been 3 years ago now, when they were talking about this Epstein trial, and this Epstein, there was like supposed to be this big list of all the people who procured services of Epstein while they were on the island. And then they came out with this list of people who were on the flights, and they had all the people, celebrities, politicians, and all this other actors and everything that were on this flight that went back and forth to the island. And then they said that the Maxwell lady had a list of, or a clientele, that they had this list of people that were down for all of that mess. And now they come out, the government said that they had the list, and I think that the Department of Justice head, I think, what is she, the Attorney General Bondi? Oh, everything is across my desk. The list is across my desk. And now they come up today and said that there is no list. Where'd it go? How do you have one 2 years ago and now you don't have one, and there never was one? What did you use to convict what's her name? Ghislaine Maxwell? Ghislaine Maxwell. What did you use to convict her? She said she had a list. She said she had a black book. You all said that you all had perused it. It would be interesting for me to hear from old prosecutors to see whether or not that their eyes did their eyes lay upon some lists. Because, we were told that our current president, his name, along with the guy, the Prince Andrew from the UK, they were on the list. Because they had a lot of people on that list as far as the flights. You remember, I think it was like, and again, my memory doesn't serve me well. So all of this is alleged until you can find that list or an article talking about this. But you remember, it was like supposedly there was flights showing that Bill Clinton went, the guy over Microsoft, they were talking about how many times he went. His wife, I think, did an interview talking about that was partly why she divorced him, because he spent a lot of time over there. I think they had Chris Tucker's name on there. They had a lot of other celebrities' names on there. I don't know if P. Diddy's name was on there. But interesting now that they don't have, the list doesn't exist. It never did when it existed a couple of years ago. And this is, and me saying that, you all, so if this is going to consist as a record, but me saying this is why I have these issue about these quote unquote Mandela effects. How people can change, because a lot of these things, particularly Mandela effects, because just like the fruit of the loom, they say, oh, we've never had the cornucopia in our logo. Well, does anybody have any underwear from back in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, up until the time that we started looking at this thing? Because that doesn't just pop out of anywhere. How does a group of people remember a cornucopia? Now that you have everything is pretty much digital, and we rely a lot on digital stuff, they can manipulate what's out here on the internet. So until somebody pulls up if somebody pulls a packaging of underwear of people back in the day, they can continue to say that until some proof is put forth to them. So I think with all of this is how they pull out this Mandela effect. And also, this is how they are controlling the narratives now. So you all are seeing things that they want you to see instead of the stuff that's just actually there. And I say that to say this too, because we understand that there is supposed to be a buyer for TikTok, because they signed silly Biden signed in a law that they changed the TikTok algorithm, and they needed a buyer from the United States, which means that all TikTok for us is going to be curated everything. So anything that's happening today, you won't know about it for 2 or 3 days from now. And then when you get the information, it has been so heavily doctored that you won't have the truth. And particularly all of this stuff in regards to our internet, in all of our social media platforms, a lot of the news, a lot of the stuff that's going on, and particularly with legacy media, they're not going to tell you all of the information anymore, because again, the way this government wants to work is that they censor everything before it goes out instead of giving the information. So freedom of press is not going to be freedom of press anymore. And we see that happening now, because we see that happening in regards to what's happening over there in Texas. We spent the first part of 90 days with Doge dismantling all the stuff, firing people from NOAA, firing people from the Weather Service, because they are able to predict certain things. They are always able to predict certain things up to a minute type of situation. They know if hurricanes are going to, where a hurricane is going to hit and turn from, at least 10 to 15 miles. They knew all of that. They had the equipment to do all of that. They had the people in place to do all that. So a lot of those people have retired. And here's the gag. You were so quick to get rid of these people that these people didn't take their knowledge and train someone else. You were so quick to get them out of there. And so now you see what's happening over there in Texas, to where the people there now are only able to predict a certain with their knowledge base, because a lot of them don't have that knowledge, because again, you got rid of the people who knew how to do it so quickly that they didn't train these people. So now you have the state of Texas out here trying to blame the government. Well, y'all should have known this. Well, you all as a collective voted for this. Red states, you voted for this. Chop up the government. Chop it, chop it, chop it, chop it. Then you get babies washed away in a flood. Now you mad. What you mad for? This is what you wanted. Take it on the chin. And I understand over there in Texas, because the grounds are supposed to be very saturated in central Texas, southern Texas. And you all about to get another round of storms, because I know it's going to rain tomorrow. As a matter of fact, I got to go mow my backyard. Interesting. But all of that to say, and I know I went on a tangent, but here's what I was saying. Isn't it interesting that as long as the Diddy trial was out, no one made any mention about Epstein? I don't know exactly why they had to give us that information really, really quick. But it seems like the Diddy trial was a distraction for a lot of things that are going on, particularly in the government. Because I just see that the Supreme Court has said that all the firings and stuff like that that the president was within his legal rights to do so. So there's a lot of different things that are going on. And there's also a lot of different things going on as far as this alligator Alcatraz. That's what they want to call it. Why don't they call it alligator Auschwitz? Because that's what it seems like it's going to be. And it's interesting to me how curt people are being about this. What's her name? The lady that looks like Frankenstein that got her face. What's her name? Laura Loomer, whatever her name is. She was saying how alligators' lives matter and how it's going to be fattened up with the what did they say? 69 million folk. Who is she referring to? But this is what y'all voted for. Very sad, sad times. Very sad times. Hello there. Hello there. I feel the same. The judge is going to give Sean Combs the max sentence he can give. Because what, 10 years is 120 months? Mm. I still think he's going to get anywhere from 50 to 80 months. That's what I think. Go round out of 60 months. That's 5 years. So, yeah. Yeah, I think he's going to get anywhere from 5 to 7 and have to spend like 2 or 3 more years in jail. That's just the way. So, if you're just joining us, I just went back over the letter. I'm going to put it up on the screen. This is the letter. This is the order that the judge has signed and adopted and scheduled as so ordered. Uh, here it is. Here it is, right here. This is the letter. So they are still going to the original date of the sentencing, which is October 3rd. There's just the little different caveats that's going on, that the probation officer has to get their pre-sentencing investigation report in to the judge, filed with the judge by August 29th. And that the defense, any objections that the defense has in regards to this pre-sentencing report, has to be filed on or before September 5th. And if the government has any objections, they have to file it by September 12th. And then the probation officer, after they've gotten, have handled all the different objections or whatever, that they're going to file their final report on September 18th. The defense filing their sentence memorandum by the 19th, and that the government filing their sentence memorandum by the 26th, which then will go into post-verdict motions, and that will be they'd have to do that on July 30th. And then the government responds to the defense post-verdict motions on August 20th. And so all of that, we're just to say, is that they will again, he will be sentenced on October 3rd. So all of this is to give the probation office time to do their report, get everything together, talk to all the people that they need to talk to. They got to talk to Diddy. They got to talk to the jail. They've got to talk to, I guess, family. They got to talk to a whole bunch of other things to see how what type of resources. And we know Diddy has a lot of money, so he has resources, but just to kind of figure out what they need to do. Because remember, when the judge denied him bail, the judge mentioned the fact that because the defense stipulated that Diddy is a violent man, and so maybe they're looking to see about some resources in regards to counseling, in regards to programs and things like that he needs to get into, possibly drug rehab, because drugs is a big issue in Sean Combs's life right now. So all of these things are going to have to be put into play for the sentencing report to figure out their sentencing. So, all right, people. We do this every week. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video if you care. Y'all comment below after this stream ends. What do you all think? Put it down in below of what you all think his sentencing is going to be. Look forward spiritual messages. You just said a word. You just said a word. But put down in the comment section of how many years you all think he's going to be sentenced. Matter of fact, I'll do this on YouTube. I'm going to put together a poll, and I am going, because we know that he's going to already have spent a year in lockup. So you can subtract that months, but we're going to put it in months. How many months are, so in other words, 1 year is 12 months, 2 years is 24, 3 years is 36. So it's 12 multiplied, whatever. How many months do you think that he will spend? And then we'll get back together and see if our predictions are going to be correct once we get here October 3rd in the sentencing. Your granny was a wise woman. Be careful what you say, because it may come back to bite you. Because now the way that my folks say it is, say what you mean and mean what you say, and stand firm in the words that you speak. So in other words, and I think like my northern brethren say, your word is your bond. You have to stand by what you say at all times. So I'm going to do the poll, put it on there. So anybody that you follow me, and if you don't follow me on YouTube, go ahead over there and follow me on YouTube. Subscribe to me, and you'll get notifications and when things like that, and when I go live. So I'm going to put the post on over there, and you let me know, because I see look forward spiritual messages said she looking at 84 months. Me too. I don't know why the 7 years is just coming up in my head, but it looks like he may get 7 years. And a lot of that probably has to do with the frequency of how many times he's transported people. I don't know. It just seems like that what he may get. Child, a mess. And also it's a mess because I'm just finding out too that there was some drama going on down at the courthouse between some of the YouTubers. Now, I'm not going to report on that because I started to, but I was like, no, because regardless of what side of the aisle that they fall on, I consider them to be colleagues, so I'm not going to go over there. But apparently there was a little brouhaha happening all and up betwixt in between there. So if I do that, if I do anything like that, it would be strictly on a members only stream. So if you are not a member and you want to join, support the channel, you can definitely do a membership over on YouTube. I'd appreciate that if you all like that. And then we can kind of chop it up, and I don't have to be careful with my wording. I can say it like I want to say it, not as I am bound to say it as far as YouTube guidelines. So y'all let me know. All right. We do this every week. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video if you care. Y'all, please tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker, tell that heifer that you can't stand that I'm over here making these videos. And as always, people,